crack out the barbecue and get ready to crack out your Southern drawl as well, because we are ready to go racing at Texas. That's right, the Circuit of the Americas, Austin's premier racing facility, and GR Cup is ready to tackle the twists, the turns, the elevation, and all of the challenges that come our way. DJ Clark up here on the commentary booth alongside Kyle Heyer with Ash Vandelay along the ride, and we are so very excited to be able to bring you the action here today, Kyle. We've got a great race in store, but somebody familiar up at the front.
Yeah, it's Gresham Wagner out in front in pole position, and familiar face up front for sure, but it's great to be back in the Lone Star State. This is a big racetrack and a big weekend for SRO Motorsports America. It is a packed house down there in the paddock with lots of fans getting ready to see some great one-make racing with this Toyota GR Cup Series.
Yeah. Beautiful conditions out on the circuit here at this point, and we are ready to be able to get everything ready to go. One pace lap around here, so not a lot of time to get those Continental tires up to temperature, but these drivers are going to be able to do it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting grid for today. It's going to be Gresham Wagner, as he has done for most of this season, starting up front alongside Jackson Bell. His teammate Weston Workman starts third alongside the first non-Copeland Motorsports driver, Lucas Weisenberg. Then it's Mike Kohlbecker for Tech Sport Racing and Adam Brickley in P6. Moving back into row 4, Jordan Rick Segrini and Devin Anderson, another Tech Sport Racing driver. They're looking strong here this weekend. Braden Arthur starts 9th, and Mia Lovell rounds out your top 10.
Stephen Clemens rolls off in 11th place in row 6 alongside Aiden Yoder, who was on pole here for race 2 last season. Henry Drury, coming off of 2 top 10s at Sebring, starts 13th in the 88 from Precision Racing LA alongside William Lambros in the 77. Austin Dodge starts in row 8 on the inside, along with Livio Galanti making another return to the championship in 16th. Max Hewitt starts 17th in the number 39 alongside Matty Alston 18th in the 09 car. Then it's Casey Mashore in 19th place in the number 50, and Jade Avedisi in the Nitro Motorsports 24 starting in 20th.
On the inside of row 11, it'll be Luke Rumberg, followed by Tyler Wettengel. A newcomer, Miki Onaga, starts off 23rd, and Aiden Kirk, another newcomer, in 24th. 25th is Alex Garcia with Alfonso Diaz to his outside. As we then move back into row 14, it'll be Jason Kose and Andrew Gilliland. The penultimate row here at this point will have a couple of our favorite drivers actually farther back on in the field. That's James Klimas and Raymond Lanos, a new driver here, a Mexican driver that we are so happy to be able to welcome on into the series. And then rounding out the back of the field, it will be Bennett Muldoon in the number 15. Well, Kyle, drivers work their way around through this infield section, modeled after the Hockenheim ring, and so I turn to you, as I always do. What are the keys to victory here today?
Well, keep it on the black stuff, right? You have to keep the car in the bounds. Just like stick and ball sports, if you step out of bounds, it is a penalty. Same is true here today. You're going to get a couple warnings before you start getting time penalties applied and potentially even a drive-through penalty. But with all the paint in the runoff area here, you're not going to want to get too far out there. But the freshest paint of all is the target painted on the back of the number 5, Gresham Wagner. He has been perfect this year. He has won every race so far. Can he do it again, DJ, as we get ready to go racing for 45 minutes here at COTA?
Well, Weston Workman's been the one that looks like he's been able to challenge him the most often, but could it be Jackson Bell here today, or perhaps Lucas Weisenberg? And also, as we said, let's not count out those Tech Sport Racing drivers as well. They could be a real threat here today. As the number 5 of Wagner leads the field out of turn 20, they make their way onto the front straightaway, waiting for the rest of the field to pack up behind them here at this point. All eyes start to turn towards the flag stand as they enter into the acceleration zone here at this point. Eyes going towards the stand as there goes the green, and we are racing here at Circuit of the Americas. It's a brilliant getaway there for Gresham Wagner. He's immediately going to go to the outside, now to the inside. Jackson Bell trying to cover off his teammate as Lucas Weisenberg tries to go around the outside, 3 wide through the back of the field. A couple of cars getting spit out wide, but it looks like everybody's through cleanly.
Yeah, 4 wide in the midfield there, and William Lambros tried to make it pretty wide on exit in turn number 1. Went way out to a different zip code there at the top of Big Red, but now into the S's here. This is one of those critical areas. You have to keep it on the track, keep it pointed the right direction here as everyone fights to get single file.
That's Mia Lovell in the 57, slipping and sliding her way through the field as the 77 there of William Lambros also trying to find a slot to get in line there. He's going to find it ahead of the 88 there of Henry Drury as they make their way up through turn 9. This was a hotbed of area last last time we were here. And it looks like everybody's going to be able to get through cleanly there at this point. Jade Avedizian a little bit offline there. Wagner starting to press his advantage, but Jackson Bell hungrily hunting behind. Big move to the inside for Tech Sport Racing, Spike Kohlbecker.
Yeah, big lunge there by the number 55. He was the winner of race 2 here last year, so he knows how to get it done, and his racecraft has been immaculate so far this season, so it should be fun to watch. Little 3-wide action leaving the hairpin as everyone gets line astern to get into that slipstream. The front cars will push all the air out of the way. There's a little 3-wide even down the backstretch towards turn 12.
Not sure if that's the most effective way to get that draft to work, but at the same time, they're going to be going for it here as we take a look. Kohlbecker again on a big move on Lucas Weisenberg, trying to go down the inside. That Tech Sport Racing driver is very hungry.
Trouble! The 34 car gets turned around. That's Braden Arthur. He was so fast earlier this weekend. He just got clobbered into turn 12. A couple drivers just got in there way too hot, DJ, and that is going to hurt Braden Arthur. And Aiden Yoder has huge right front damage on the 44.
And that's unfortunately the second time we've seen heavy damage for Yoder this year. A big incident down into the hairpin at Sonoma, ending his race early. No full course caution yet, so the battle continues on here at this point, as that's Adam Brickley in the number 51 trying to make a move on the number 18 of Jordan Rick Segrini as he comes back into the series. Kohlbecker still not able to make the run on Lucas Weisenberg.
And Devin Anderson running out a bit wide there, and that is the 44 of Aiden Yoder, and this is just catastrophe for last year's pole sitter. The safety car has been deployed, and unfortunately that car is not going anywhere, and there is damage on a bunch of places on that Segra machine. And as quickly as we started, we're under control of the safety car here, DJ. Unfortunate start, but that braking zone into turn 12, with how good these cars are on the brakes, they're so lightweight. You can brake so late with that Bosch ABS. It's like a siren song every time you drive into a hairpin. If you miss the braking point by 3 feet, you're in the corner 20 feet too deep, and that's not going to play 3 wide into the 12th corner on the opening lap, is it?
No, it certainly is not, and you've got to be very careful. It looks like Livio Galante there has a little bit of piece hanging off the side of the car as well, so there's clearly some cars that have been able to carry on here at this point that still have damage on them. But this is going to be a reset of the field, and we should take this time to talk about there is the start zone that is on the front straightaway that exists when we get the initial green flag, but when this race restarts, that means the leader, in this case Gresham Wagner, will be able to go coming through the beginning of turn 20 and be able to accelerate a little bit earlier. Is that going to give him an advantage on the rest of the field?
Yes, it might, but we also saw how that could go wrong at Sebring. The drivers were talked to in the drivers meeting, and we hope that that won't be another situation we run into here at COTA. So that it certainly is an advantage to be accelerating into a final corner and try to sprint away, but Jackson Bell and Weston Workman, they are not going to let him get away with driving away from the field all over again. Talked to him earlier in the weekend, and they're like, yeah, we've been looking at his data, trying to figure out how he's going so much faster. But even in qualifying this morning, again, taking pole by 3/4 of a second, he has just been phenomenal. And how are you going to run him down when he's got the same equipment as you? You got to outdrive him.
Well, we are seeing a heads up here from Race Control that the incident at turn 12 is under review. So we will keep you up to date about that as things continue to go along. Kyle, you're shaking your head here at this point.
It's probably, again, it's too early to really know, but generally when you have an incident like that, there's going to be penalties, right? From a long ways back on the opening lap, you know, discretion is a better part of valor in a 45-minute race here. There's still so much time, and it's easy to get distracted by other cars around you and take that big lunge into a tight corner, but with the angles that these hairpins are at, you have to be careful on this opening lap not to have problems like that. And when you're hunting for a championship, DJ, there's not that many rounds in this championship. You can't afford to have multiple DNFs.
No, you really cannot. You have got to maximize points, especially when you are trying to compete against somebody like Gresham Wagner. And it is very, very crucial that you are able to get your way ahead. As we take a look there at the flatbed, Aiden Yoder's car, it looks like that thing is pretty toast.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. That's a big hit there for Aiden Yoder. We're going to get a look at the replay here. Watching the top of your screen, the 44 Segra car pop out of line here. And look how far up the road the 34 of Braden Arthur is. And just it's just from a long ways back. Didn't have the overlap there, DJ. And big mistake there for the 44. And certainly it's going to hurt the 34 as well, Braden Arthur.
Yeah, looks like Arthur was able to keep going. So there's at least that working for him here at this point. But again, we're going to have to see that 44 of Aiden Yoder put onto the flatbed. That'll take a couple of minutes. A few marbles bouncing off on the track there from those Continental tires.
Yeah, I also wonder if, as far as the incident being under review, it seems like it might already have been self-penalizing enough, unfortunately. So it could go that way, but we'll keep you updated if we have any more information. But 7 minutes down from the 45-minute duration for this race, and we come off of the season opening rounds at Sonoma and Sebring, and while those two are very different racetracks than this place, of course we had all the bumps and bruises of the course at Sebring and the long flowing corners at Sonoma. This is kind of a blend of everything. Some new pavement on some areas of the racetrack as well, including into the braking zones at turn 11 in particular. So we talk about braking performance. There's a lot of it to be had out there. You just have to make sure you're nailing your braking marker when you're behind other cars.
Yeah, exactly. You really got to make sure that you get everything absolutely right here as they go. And there we see him working his way ahead and getting his way back onto the flatbed.
Yeah, so certainly the car's lined up now, just biding time behind the safety car. And again, once that 44 is cleaned up, I do anticipate we should get back rolling pretty quickly. Let's get a quick little rundown of how things are going up front, though. We mentioned the Copeland Motorsports cars up at the front, but Lucas Weisenberg in the 46, he has been one of the drivers alongside Spike Kohlbecker that's kind of been the cannonball into the fort that is Copeland Motorsports at the front of the field, isn't he?
Yeah, certainly has been. He's been really, really the one that is kind of pushed their way ahead, kind of been the fly in the ointment in that Copeland Motorsports domination. The other one is Spike Kohlbecker that I would have to say riding in 5th place. So keep your eye on those two cars as they go. Jordan Rick Segrini, another one here at this point that you have to keep your eyes on. Rick Segrini is we're never really sure when he's going to be showing up. That's just kind of the nature of his program and of sponsorship. It looks like there's a little piece of something out on the track that no doubt the safety marshals will be picking up here soon.
Yeah, that is less than optimal, I'm sure. But you mentioned Jordan Rick Segrini in that 18 for BSI Racing and how he was a late entry at Sebring and a late entry on this event. It wasn't on the provisional entry list, but did make it just in time. And he has been so impressive in that BSI Racing car. His debut was last season. He ran a couple rounds with us and was hoping to run for the championship, missed the season opener at Sonoma. But when he is here, he is a factor. And there's a look at the 24 of Jade Avedizian working her way up through the field.
Yeah, a little bit of an off weekend here for Jade. We normally see her up in about the top 15. That's where she likes to normally hang out. And down in 19th here, able to gain a couple of positions off of the drop of the green flag. So she'll be hoping for a little bit more in that Nitro Motorsports camp. And she's got one of the best driver coaches around here at this point. That, of course, being the reigning champion from GR Cup in Tyler Gonzalez. He's been helping out with them as well as running a couple of programs for them in other series.
Yeah, certainly, and working her way through the field. This is a challenging racetrack that requires a lot of precision over the course of the lap, and it's a very different circuit in all 3 sectors. Of course, that first sector is all fast and flowing. Sector 2 is just a power sector, and Sector 3 is really when the handling of these GR86s really comes to light. So getting the balance in all 3 areas, that is a challenging proposition for a driver that may have not been here before.
Yeah, very much so, and you've got to feel out the rhythm. You've got to feel out the way to be able to get everything as much as possible and get your way on through. So we'll have to see what they're able to do and if Jade is able to get a little bit more here as they go. Lights, I'm trying to take a look at that Toyota GR86 safety car. Not sure if they're out or not here yet, but the field is appearing to be speeding up a little bit as they come around the carousel.
Yeah, that generally means that they're trying to get done with the yellow flag sequence pretty quickly when they speed up the safety car, and Mike Stillwagon behind the wheel should be working pretty hard to get us back underway pretty shortly. As so get a quick look at a couple cars that have joined us here this weekend. One of them is car number 47. This is Aiden Kirk running with Tech Sport Racing here this weekend. Local Texas driver. He's an 18-year-old. Came from the karting background here, but has experience in all sorts of cars, including GT cars and other one-make cars that you might see elsewhere. Of course, this is his debut in the GR Cup Series, but a motorsports ranch that's relatively nearby and here at Circuit of the Americas. Americas are his home track. So carving his way through the field after a qualifying effort, I think he's going to continue to move forward here in this race.
Yeah, and what a better place to be able to have that area to grow than with tech sport racing. We've seen them foster so many good talents through the years, whether it was Gresham Wagner last year's by Colbeck or another one, Devin Anderson. We see all of these drivers coming up through the ranks at tech sport, and it really is just a great place for young drivers to be able to spread their proverbial wings.
Yeah, and up to 22nd here in the early going, so moving forward he is. And again, 18-year-old young talent here, and there's so much young talent in this field. We've got 15-year-old Adam Brickley, Jade Avedizian, 17 years old. Jordan Rixagrini is also pretty young, so is Lucas Weisenberg. It was really cool to see drivers take that first step really into professional racing, climbing the ladder here. And I think this is true of a lot of series like Toyota GR Cup North America. There are some that treat this like the first step on their ladder, and for some, this is the platform they're trying to get to.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the things we love about this program is that you get that mix of everybody into it here at this point, and it really allows for such a diverse racing element here and such a diverse racing family from the Toyota fold.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course this is a phenomenal series. This is the second season that we've had in Toyota GR Cup North America, and it has been so competitive, so what better place to test your skill against a field of drivers that all have the same equipment at their hands, and it really comes down to the team to have a relationship with their drivers and get the car tuned to match the drivers' expectations and performance. There's not a ton you can do on these cars. There's a couple different spring packages and things, but they come from factory very well set up to race, and it comes down to mostly the driver, which I like. The other thing to consider here is that these cars are fairly slippery, and they allow drivers to really not be at the whim of the draft all the time. It is a tool you can use, but it's certainly not going to just let you drive by someone that you are not better than on the racetrack.
Yeah, it becomes a tool, exactly as you said. It's not the end-all, be-all of the way to go. And there, as we see on the screen, lights officially out on the Toyota GR86 safety car. Plenty of weaving down that back straightaway, clearing off the clag from the tires, getting these drivers ready to go. And Jackson Bell is going to be looking clearly ahead because he has been able to get, I believe, 3 or 4 podiums up to this point in the running of this GR86 GR Cup Series. He wants to get on the top step, though. I talked to him earlier this week, and he wants that win.
Well, he better be ready to get up on Gresham Wagner's rear bumper here for the restart because, as you pointed out at the beginning of the full course yellow sequence, the way that we restart here at Circuit of the Americas leading into turn 20 gives a decent advantage to the race leader. So Jackson Bell's got to be ready to follow his teammate through that last corner. And if he does it right, you'll be carrying a lot of speed onto the front straightaway, and you can use that tool, the slipstream, up into turn 1.
Well, we'll have to see just how both Wagner and Bell are able to handle that out. They come down through the carousel right now, working their way down through 16, 17, and 18. Gresham Wagner assuming control of the field here at this point as he eyes that car down into turn 19 at the pit entrance line. That is when the leader is able to go and accelerate away. Wait for it there. A little bit of a poke out of line for Weston Workman. Held it for a second as Wagner. Bell is all over it. Bell read that perfectly as here they fly onto the main straightaway. You're not able to start an overtake until that green flag flies. We look towards the flag stand here. Green flag's in the air. It's race on.
Yeah, and Jackson Bell did everything he could there. He was right on the heels of Gresham Wagner, who's feeling the pressure. He goes defensive into turn 1. Jackson Bell's going to try the long way around or maybe a crossover here at turn 1, but he's right in the proximity of his teammate as they head down the hill towards turn 2.
He's not able to get the move done, but he may be able to try to get a little bit more here at this point. He's also got to be looking in his rear view mirror because Weston Workman in that new liveried number 13 looking particularly aggressive here, but not a lot of overtaking opportunities coming through the S's. This is all single file.
Yeah, Gresham Wagner looking very nice there. Jackson was trying to set him up to get a bit of a wider arc into the S's, but at some point you have to turn in and straight line this as much as you can here into the left-hander here heading up towards turn 8. You're going to keep this car tucked in right on the paint as best you can before setting up for the run down to turn 11.
Yeah, and it looks like through that 8-9 complex, Gresham Wagner was able to gain about a half a car length to a car length of advantage over Jackson Bell. We haven't seen a lot of craziness from the rest of the field here. Everybody pretty much staying in line as they work their way now into turn 11. Maybe a little bit of movement there from behind. That's going to be Stephen Clements and Henry Drury. Farther back in the field, Jade Avedizian going for a big move, as is Casey Mashore.
Yeah, Casey Mashore having to look up the inside of the 14 of Alex Garcia. who has, again, graduated from college a couple weeks ago at Sebring International Raceway. Good to see him back with us here this week in the Skip Barber Racing School car. But now again, line of stern on this run down to turn 12. We didn't get through it last time. Let's see who's on the attack this time through.
Well, I'll tell you who's on the defense here. That is Lucas Weisenberg trying to hold off Spike Kohlbecker. Kohlbecker looks for a little bit of a crossover, but that's not going to play itself out. Kohlbecker is able to push Weisenberg a little bit wide. Farther behind them, that's going to be Adam Brickley and Devin Anderson. Anderson with a good move down into turn 13.
Yeah, that was really good stuff there by Anderson. Got the nose alongside Brickley at the exit of turn 12 and just had enough overlap to sneak up the inside at turn 13 and clears Brickley. This is a great run for Devin Anderson, who's definitely coming up to grips with this race car and is clearly moving in the right direction. And he was a participant in last week's Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League and had a good run there too. So from the sim to reality, Devin Anderson continues his push.
Yeah, continues his push here. The top three starting to break away a little bit, but it looks like that's Adam Brickley rather, not letting Devin Anderson scamper off into the distance. He's going to have to hold it out. Here comes Weston Workman. Good battle for the top two as it looks like Gresham Wagner's starting to stretch his legs. Weston Workman has had enough of his teammate. He wants a crack at the points leader.
Yeah, nice graphics package on the 13 car as well. Slightly different livery than we're used to on Weston Workman's machine, but looks the part. Although he's got a view out the windshield of the 99 of Jackson Bell for Copeland Motorsports. And if you recall from last season, it was driven by a different driver, but that 99 was leading coming to the checkers. And all the drama from 2023, that car didn't win the race. The 55 of Spike Kohlbecker did, but he's got to power his way through the 46 of Weisenberg. These two have just been magnetized all year long, haven't they?
Yeah, they really and truly have. They have been fighting each other tooth and nail over the course of the entire season. As there we see farther back in the field, it looks like Devin Anderson starting to break away a little bit from Adam Brickley. Brickley a little bit out of control there through that section of the S as he gathered it up back underneath him, but that was just on the edge.
All what this GR86 is about. You hang that thing out on the edge of grip, front engine, rear wheel drive, low slung sports car. It'll do that all day long. You just have to be considerate of those Continental tires that you have to make them last for another 27.5 minutes. So don't beat them up too much here. Got to keep them under you, especially on a hot day like this.
Yeah, very much so. A little bit of a peek from behind there for Jordan Rick-Sagrini. Maybe just trying to get into the head of Spike Kohlbecker. Same can be true there for Stephen Clements in 9th place. He's now the one trying to make that move on Adam Brickley. That's Clements going very wide there on the exit of turn 11. That's within legal bounds, but still wide.
Yeah, the boundaries here are, at most corners, the outer white line. So that red painted verge, or in some corners it's green. That's all fair play there. So drivers can run out onto those yellow curbs, and that's fine. They have plenty of ground clearance in these cars. The suspension will soak that up pretty well. I can't imagine it's all that comfortable to do it, but the boundaries are wide enough that drivers can really play with the edge of the course quite a bit more than you would typically think.
Nice little battle here farther back from behind. That looks like it's Garcia and Wettengel. Also a nice little battle there taking out with William Lambros. Big move down to the inside there as they come through turn 15.
That's what this stadium section's all about. It's left-right switchbacks. I said earlier, it's like climbing a mountain, but you're not going up. You have to keep turning around and going left, going right. These tight blind apexes, but they're great for racing, especially in a car like this that's so nimble at low speed. You give the throttle a boot, kick the thing out sideways, get some overlap, and make a pass. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is. These cars are an absolute blast. We watch Casey Mashore right now trying to escape away from Jade Avedizian and close in on the back of Tyler Wettengel up ahead. That is Wettengel, Garcia, and Oust running. Maddie Oust up in 13th right now. We haven't talked about her a whole lot, but always a driver to keep an eye on as she continues to grow in this car and just get more and more comfortable with it. I think by the end of this season, we are going to see that young lady up near the front of this field.
Yeah, she's done a phenomenal job adjusting to this car. Comes out of the TC America Series last season, running a car that had a lot more horsepower, and you can't mask issues or mistakes in this car. You have to really carry momentum and do it well, and she's adjusting very nicely, I'd have to say, and doing a great job with the battles that she has been involved in today. There's, at the back of that shot, Jade Avedizian, but again, this battle continues here for P13.
Yeah, this is Maddie Oust and Garcia right now, and the 14 of Alex Garcia trying to get that move on Maddie, but she just perfectly positioned that car. Here is Brickley, looks like Brickley, Drury, and a few others trying to be able to fight their way around right now. Excuse me, Brickley, Clements, and Drury 3, 4, 5 right now as they get their way through the corner.
And Livio Galanti and the Eagles Canyon Racing powered by Fast Track car having a phenomenal run today. Livio joined us at Sonoma but missed the round at Sebring. Great to have him back here in the paddock with us and off to a very good start in that Eagles Canyon Racing car.
Yeah, here comes a little bit of a poke out of line there. That was Henry Drury thinking about a move on Stephen Clements down into turn 11. Drury thought better of it. it, but watch out from behind. Livio Galante, as you said, that Eagles Canyon Racing machine with the day glow in gray, he could have a little bit of a good run here as they fly their way down the back straightaway.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on the slipstream here and how it'll affect the battle at the end of this long back straightaway, top of 5th gear. You probably won't touch 6th, or if you do, you're really hauling the mail down into turn 12. Little slip there by Jackson Bell into 12, a little further slip, and Weston Workman beginning to apply some pressure to the back of that Brawnability car.
Yeah, but I've got to give some credit here to Jackson Bell. He's kept that gap at 1.1 seconds. It is not running off. We do have a couple of track limits, first offense warnings to give you out here. The number 20, Raymond Lanos, then the 77 of William Lambros, and then the 75 of Mika Onaga. Now, you're fine with the first 2 of those. It's when you hit 3, you get an official warning, and that's when things get sketchy.
You kind of treat them like a non-renewable resource. You know you're going to get the warnings as long as you're not doing something crazy. You can run a little wide if it helps you unwind the wheel and find some speed, and that's what Jackson Bell has got to do. He's looking a bit more wild at the exit at turn 19. Workman's going to cross over and have a lunge into turn 20. Bell's all the way out there braking on the curbing. That will keep the car from braking at its best, but he's right back on the heels of Workman up the front straightaway.
All right, well, what these two need to do is they need to make sure not to scrap too much with one another, because they do not want to let their teammate Gresham Wagner just escape off into the distance. Meanwhile, the flip of that is the driver who's lurking behind in the background there, Lucas Weisenberg. He wants this scrap to happen. He wants to move his way up onto the podium.
Now the scrapping will continue here between Workman and Jackson Bell, and Lucas Weisenberg again has been in a similar position all season long as his Spike Kobecker, where they're really the spice in the Copeland Motorsports soup up here at the front, making things interesting because they're not willing to play any games. They're not going to work together or draft with this team. They're going to go right on by and continue their climb towards the podium. Looking a little wild there, Jackson Bell sliding around through the S's, really showing what that GR86 is capable of, but he is losing ground to the 13.
Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier, that when you go through those S's, they start out absolutely flat out, and then you've got to bleed more speed as you go through, and I think Jackson just maybe didn't bleed enough. But here comes a great run from Lucas Weisenberg. He is on it coming through turn 10. Is he going to have a poke to the inside coming into turn 11? Bell goes half-heartedly defensive, but doesn't need to in the long run, as Weisenberg's going to stay right in line.
Yeah, Lucas is driving a very smart race here. As he follows that 99 is up the back straightaway again. Here's a look at the replay here. Watch the 99 and watch that curbing there. Ooh, that was a big jump, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a big jump for him there. And there you see, it's that domino effect. You lose momentum in one and you continue to lose it as it goes along.
Yeah, each corner, the exit flows into the entry of the next. So if you mess up one, you mess them all up. And it's frustrating because you got to wait 2.5 minutes to try it all over again. But Jackson certainly on the back foot now with Lucas Weisenberg breathing down his neck, and Spike Kobecker is there as well. And Jordan Rixagrini having another great race, as you mentioned earlier in this, just on the outside of the top 5.
Well, and as a result of that battle that we saw with Bell and Weisenberg, that's allowed for Weston Workman to kind of break out from this, and he can just set his sights squarely ahead on Gresham Wagner. But Weisenberg right now, this could be another opportunity. We've seen a lot of chances coming through the carousel down into 19 and 20. Could this be the opportunity for Lucas Weisenberg to poke his nose ahead?
I think he'd like to make it the opportunity, but he's been showing incredible patience in that 46 gear wrench car. He had an opportunity to go by Jackson Bell at turn 11, but he chose not to. He chose to stay in line and play the game here a bit. I think he knows the points pay when the timer hits 0. We're a long ways away from that, just past halfway. So as long as he can keep that 99 in his crosshairs there, I think it's not quite time to take that shot just yet.
No, I don't think it is either. Big squiggle there for Jordan Rixagrini, by the way, coming off of turn 20. Let's take a look back farther in the field here at this point. This is going to be that battle, Matty Oust. That's Alex Garcia and Jade Avedizian. That was that farther back in the field. Right now, this is Tyler Wettengill, Spike Kobecker trying to close down on Lucas Weisenberg.
Yeah, Spike doing a nice job here, trying to close the gap up to the 46 and into the S's again. Drivers getting really liberal with the use of the track limits through the S's. You don't want to catch yourself shortcut penalties, DJ, because that's a hard one to correct. We talked about the S's and how fast and flowing they are. The slightest change in your steering is going to affect your line by a massive amount. So if you pick up a couple of limits violations here now, and then you need to really race hard with 5 minutes to go, you put yourself in a box that the other drivers around you might not be in.
Exactly, and you don't want to constrain yourself like that. You need to have that little bit of freedom to be able to make things play here at this point. And you want to just push as much as you need to later on in the race. But here is that battle right now. Devin Anderson, Adam Brickley, Stephen Clements. This is at the tail end. Ooh, side by side, farther back in the order. That's going to be Livio Galante and Austin Dodge coming back into the series. Also, Jay Davidizian and Matty Oust. Everything's happening down in turn 11.
Yeah, getting pretty spicy on the overtaking down here because it sets you up for another overtaking opportunity. So if you don't get it done at 11, you can try again at turn 12. But notice some damage on the front of Livio Galante's car. I don't think it's a huge deal. It looks like it's just the left front fender, but aerodynamics do matter here on these long straightaways and trying to be as aerodynamically efficient as possible.
Yeah, you really do need that to try to just get as slippery as possible and gain as much speed as you can. Here they come down through turns 12, 13, 14, 15. This stadium section, inspired by Hockenheim, is what we found out a little bit earlier in the weekend.
Yeah, so this racetrack has a lot of corners that are inspired by other racing circuits around the world. The other big one, the S's area, that's inspired by Maggots and Beckett's in Silverstone in the UK. Of course, here at COTA, they kind of meander away uphill towards the end. So, and of course, they crest at turn 10 and head down towards the hairpin. It's a really neat racetrack, but there are some repaved sections as well that have sent drivers for a bit of a loop trying to figure out where the braking grip is around this course. But it is a fast, fun circuit here in the heart of Texas.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it is a favorite both of the SRO Motorsports Group America community as well as these drivers, because we just absolutely love coming here, and the party that gets put on here is spectacular.
Well, it's sort of a home event for SRO America, right? So the race fans here come out in droves, and it's really neat to see the paddock so full and people interested in all the series that SRO has to offer, but in particular this GR Cup series. As you walk around and you're looking at all these other drivers beginning their racing careers, and I'm sure there's more than a handful this weekend that have gone, what if? Me included, mostly.
Well, there's the real truth of the matter, and there is one of those drivers that doesn't have to ask what if. He knows at this point. That is Gresham Wagner. He's got a 2.3 second gap on the rest of the field, and he is just driving away here at this point. And this is where Gresham Wagner seems his most comfortable, when he's up in the lead and he's just able to control the pace of the field. The battles continue to rage on behind, but we've seen a little bit of a stagnation of the fight between Workman, Bell, Weisenberg, and Kohlbecker.
Yeah, for Gresham Wagner last season, the pace was always there. It just when he got stuck back in the field and had to work his way through traffic, he caught himself out in some bad situations a few times, had a mechanical failure here last year. So the season could have gone a lot better for him than it did. He really didn't get a fair shot right from the get-go early in the season. But now that he's got everything sorted out, he's with this Copeland Motorsports team, and he's just doing a nice job, not making mistakes. But you have to wonder in the back of your mind, if he ends up in a scenario where he's 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, will he get drawn into a battle that he doesn't necessarily need to be a part of, and someone else could steal the show for a couple rounds?
Well, I said the battle had started to subside. Clearly, I'm a liar. That is Lucas Weisenberg under attack there from Spike Kohlbecker. This is the battle for P4. And don't look now, but Jordan Riggs-Segrini starting to get interested in that fight as well.
I saw a little flame pop out of the tailpipe of the, I think that was the 46. And my rule with cars is cars that shoot fire out the tailpipe are better than cars that don't shoot fire out the tailpipe. Cool stuff there with this flat 4 boxer engine. Very low center of gravity in this car, and that's what makes it a treat in these handling sections.
Yeah, it really does. The low center of gravity means you can really sling it through the corners. It's a brilliant design by Toyota, and really makes this car absolutely come alive. And that's exactly what Weisenberg and Kohlbecker are doing here at this point. You can see that quick change in direction coming down into turn 19 as they go. Looks like Weisenberg doesn't need to play defensive here at this point. Kohlbecker, I think, just maybe measuring up his opposition, trying to figure out where the best area to get that overtake is going to be.
Yeah, and they've begun to lose ground to the front 3 cars, so at some point, you know, you have to set your sights on something different. With 16 minutes to go, without the front 3 really starting to scrap, I don't know that they've got the pace to run those guys back down. So then it becomes a fight for 3rd, and then everyone just turns up the wick because you don't have to work together anymore. So that'll be a fun fight at the tail end, but Wagner, Workman, and Jackson Bell have each found themselves a couple seconds of racing room just to dial in and run some laps.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be a really good thing. It can be a nice little reset as a driver to just focus in on those laps. Jackson Bell coming through that turn 7-8 area. He's, again, just a little bit off there.
Yeah, Weston Workman just ran the best lap of the race, by the way, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. 1.7 seconds is the differential from Wagner to Workman. All the while, Weisenberg, Kohlbecker still chasing each other's tails up through the top of the hill and heading down towards turn number 11. I think this battle for P3 is going to be pretty spicy indeed. And then Jordan Rick-Segrini could be a part of that as well, maybe snag a podium potentially in the 18 car. And then Devin Anderson, let's talk more about that 22 and the 51 and the 76 that have made their way into 7th, 8th, and 9th. Anderson having a phenomenal run there in that 22. His first real top 10 run of the season and looking very strong.
Yeah, looking very strong indeed. And Devin has, as you said earlier, just continues to build that momentum. And that's so much of what we see in this series, not only from the cars themselves.
Yeah, half a second quicker for Weston Workman over Gresham Wagner last lap around. So again, we're keeping our eyes on that lead battle for Gresham Wagner. Maybe the advantage is turning away as Workman has dispatched his teammate Jackson Bell. Potentially, now we can focus out the windshield and not out the rearview mirror, DJ. That shifts the efforts a bit for Weston Workman, and it's working for him.
It could be a little bit of a race here at this point, as it certainly is back for 4th place right now. We continue to watch Spike Kohlbecker working on Lucas Weisenberg, trying to see if there's that little bit of momentum that he can get. But I've got to say, I love what Lucas Weisenberg is doing here at this point. We often talk about this, Kyle. He's not running a defensive line. He's just running his own line, and he's making Kohlbecker do this the hard way.
Yeah, we saw that when he was trailing the 55 too. He wasn't throwing the car down the inside at moves he wasn't going to make. He waited for the opportunity. He's been a very patient driver, and that's why he's being rewarded with consistent points. Now, I don't know if it's good enough to win the championship the way that he's running, because he's got to get race wins under the belt. But a driver that still has a shot, Weston Workman, continues to pull in Gresham Wagner. Last time by, again, it was 2/10 to Gresham's advantage that time. So it's pretty close between those two as far as lap times are concerned, but about 2 seconds still the gap between the leaders.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's a little bit of a cat playing with its toys here at this point for Gresham Wagner, as he allowed Workman to pull in that half a second gap, as you saw. And then I think he realized he was starting to close in and decided to push it down again with an absolutely stellar 3rd sector. That's really where he gained the time back, so we'll have to see. Let's check a little bit farther back in the field here at this point. This is 12th place right now as they run. That's Jade Avedizian, Galante, and Garcia right now.
Yeah, this is a great scrap here. Jade Avedizian all over the back of Livio Galante in that 21, the Dayglow orange and gray car. And just behind that is that Matty Oust making an appearance once more. A 4-horse race for 12th place.
Yep, and oh, that's Spike Kohlbecker. He's gotten the move on Lucas Weisenberg, but Weisenberg says not so fast. Crossover maneuver coming down through turn 11. They're going to be in a straight drag race going down the back straightaway.
And Jordan Rick-Segrini, he is seeing those two drivers in his crosshairs here. Once again, here's a look at the replay. Big lunge from Spike late in the braking zone, but he made it stick. The problem is Lucas was able to cross him over, saw it coming, got on the brakes a bit harder, turned in later, and here he goes, back by into the braking zone into 12.
Yeah, Weisenberg's just got to make sure he doesn't have the exact same thing happen to him coming down into 13. Lucas able to carry that momentum, move back out to the outside. Nicely done there for Lucas Weisenberg to be able to hold on to that 4th place position.
And the group right behind them is catching them. Devin Anderson, Adam Brickley, Stephen Clemens. They are catching Weisenberg, Kohlbecker, and Rick-Segrini because of all this battling they're doing. So very quickly, this could be a battle for 4th involving maybe 5 or 6 cars even.
Oh, I would love to see that before this race is only 12 minutes left to go in this race. So they're going to keep pushing ahead here at this point, as Kohlbecker going to try to see if he can get a little bit of a better run. But I think Kohlbecker's got to be a little bit more worried about what's going on behind him with Jordan Rick-Segrini, as that number 18 car looks like he is starting to close in.
Yeah, Jordan's another driver with a lot of patience. I think he'll wait for an opportunity to strike, but with Lucas and Spike continuing to open the door on each other, at some point someone's going to take the shoulder and just knock it in, and I think Rick-Segrini's probably in the best position of anybody to do just that.
Yeah, that battle that you mentioned there behind Anderson, Brickley, Clemens, that looks like it's Brickley starting to put a little bit of momentum on side by side farther back in the field. That's William Lambros and I believe Casey Mashore in the number 50 machine. As there they go through that final corner, about ready to cross over the line. They're still going to be side by side as they try to get themselves together. Mashore to the inside, Lambros to the outside into turn 1.
Racing as hard for 16th as they are for the lead, and I think that's what's so cool about single make racing is there's battles everywhere. Casey Mashore's got the advantage here into turn 1. Lambros will try to do the over-under, little push there. The Toyota logo is making contact as they run through turn 1.
And I think there's a little bit of clip damage there on William Lambros. I saw the right front of that car just kind of crinkle a little bit, so that's not going to affect him too much, but just something to keep an eye on.
As long as it stays bolted on the car, so the front doesn't fall off primarily. But up at the front, I did notice one thing. The leaders are getting pretty tight together. About another second and a half is the difference. So Workman made another half second up on Gresham Wagner. This is, I believe, a lap car in...
No, that's James Clemus and Andrew Gilliland.
This is the 86.
It is a very similar livery to Jackson Bell. That's why it's confusing.
That threw me off for a moment for sure. I was like, why is Jackson all by himself? But that explains that. The
There's
86
Jackson.
car. There he is. And headlights flashing on Weston Workman. Hello, I'm coming. 1.5 seconds, DJ. It's ebbing and flowing. Is it enough, though, with 9 minutes to go?
He's gotten it down more. The gap at the last interval coming down the back straightaway was only about 9/10 of a second. Battle on, though, for P4, as that is going to be Weisenberg still holding off Kohlbecker. Here comes a little bit of a cheeky move from Jordan Rixagrini, trying to maybe think about the outside. And I'm not sure if that was a defensive or an offensive move there from Spike Kohlbecker.
Well, let's see who's thinking 4 chess moves ahead, because this stadium section requires it. If you make a wrong step in one corner, just like the S's, it'll hurt you in the next. But they're back single file once more, heading into the downhill right-hander. Triple apex, 16, 17, and 18. It's hard to see from this perspective, but you drop quite a ways from the entrance to the corner to the exit.
Yeah, and there you can kind of see it from that camera angle as it starts to break away from you. It's really a spectacular corner to feel out. Kohlbecker a little bit closer to the apex there, a little bit down to the inside as compared to Weisenberg. Kohlbecker thinks about popping out of line, going through turn 20, not able to get it done as now they power up onto the main straightaway once more. This is the closest we've seen Kohlbecker in a minute, and I think Weisenberg knows it. He's given it a big fade down to the middle of the racetrack.
I worry about this, though, because into turn 1, that corner is so tight that you're going to compromise your exit if you chase it all the way over to the left. Here comes Spike, back to the right, up to the outside, and we'll try the long way around here and maybe try to over-under. Not quite enough exit speed to pull up alongside the 46 for the S's.
Meanwhile, up front at the front of the field, 1.1 seconds the gap. Part of that may be, as we take a look, there you see about 7/8 of a second taken out by Weston Workman on the last 2 laps. The other thing to keep in mind here, I did see come across our screen, that car 5, Gresham Wagner, has gotten his 2nd offense for track limits. If he gets another, that's a warning. If he gets a 4th one after that, that's where problems start.
Yeah, I think Gresham, he's got a little bit of an advantage. It's not as big as it once was, but he's still got a bit in the tank if he needs to burn some up as far as his advantage to take a bit more of a careful line through the S's. But that lead is not over yet. I know it's been Gresham Wagner all season long from start to finish in most of these races, but the checkered flag doesn't fly until the clock hits 0 plus half a lap or whatever's left on the board. So that's something to keep our eyes on as this battle continues. Lambros and Casey Mashore having a great scrap back there for P16.
Yeah, this is Lambros trying to see if he can get the run through turn 10. That's a flat-out corner as you lead into turn 11 right now. Lambros thinks about a little bit of a fade to the inside, but decides not to go for it. Mashore is going to keep on to that position for the moment. Again, as you said, Kyle, this is the scrap for P16. That may have been a little bit close to track limits there on the outside of turn 11.
Whoa, Spike Kohlbecker trying again on the outside of Lucas Weisenberg. This has just been such a fun scrap to watch, and great, fair, clean racing amongst these drivers. And Jordan Rixagrini is absolutely in the conversation now. Here he comes in the BSI Racing 18, and Spike Kohlbecker trying to jam the sword through the chainmail on the 46. Side by side at a slide for the 55.
Slide for the 55, and that's going to give Weisenberg the opportunity to hold it back. But here comes Jordan Rixagrini down to the inside, trying to pick the puck out of Spike Kohlbecker.
Oh, he's there too. If he can keep this overlap through 19, he's going to have to run wide. He's through. He's past Spike Kohlbecker. Can Spike get overlap again before 19? He cannot. So move Jordan Rixagrini up into 5th.
That was a brilliant heads-up move there from Jordan Rixagrini. Just recognized an opportunity and went for it.
Now can he grab 4th with Lucas Weisenberg on the horizon and Spike Kohlbecker, who will absolutely be vying to grab that spot back. And of course, Anderson and Brickley not too far back. They are still running just a couple tenths quicker than this group of cars that we're watching on screen, easing in as these drivers scrap for position.
Rixagrini moves to the inside just a little bit, maybe a little bit of a how you doing there from Spike Kohlbecker from behind. Rixagrini holding on to 5th right now. Looks on a fairly standard line coming down into turn 3 and 4. Now this is going to go single file through the S's here at this point. Rick Segrini definitely on more defense here than he is offense, as Spike Kohlbecker is all over the back of him, and Weisenberg's going to get a little bit of breathing room.
I'm just blown away by the precision of these drivers through the S's. They are allowed to basically only have a tiny bit of tire touching the rumble strips, the red and white curbing. As long as they're touching curbing, fair play. They might be 3/4 of an inch on that curbing through there, taking full advantage of it every lap. And the amount of precision it takes at 115 miles an hour to place the car like that, it's just unmatched, unbelievable driving by these drivers.
Yeah, it is absolutely remarkable. As here, Rick Segrini pilots the car down into turn 11. More of that textbook precision as they know that they cannot cross over that second white line on the exit, and just pushing the car to the absolute limit as they can. Weston Workman, by the way, responding to Gresham Wagner's fastest lap of the race last time out with the fastest first and second sector. Oh, that's a race we've got there.
So, you know, it's not Gresham Wagner slowing down, because Gresham Wagner just ran the best lap of the race. Weston Workman has found some speed, and it's just, is it coming too little too late? 4.5 minutes to go. Getting to the driver's one thing, passing's another, but we will have a fight for the lead here in Toyota GR Cup North America at Circuit of the Americas. Running out using all the racetrack is Weston Workman.
Yes, he is trying to push as hard as he can on his teammate here to take away what would be the 5th consecutive victory from Gresham Wagner. He wants it. He wants to go for it here. Does Weston Workman. Flash of the headlights, trying to get into the head of the driver of the number 5.
Same car, same team. It's going to come down to who can outdrive the other. Spike Kohlbecker squeezes back by Jordan Rick Segrini. Nose to tail. Is there a touch there into turn 19? Close quarters combat.
I think there was a little bit of touch, but credit there to Rick Segrini. It would have been very easy to kind of give him the nose and push him up the road a little bit there, give him a bump and run. And he did not do that. This is allowing for Weisenberg to scamper off into the distance a little bit. As here they come across the stripe, I'm going to guess we've got about 2-3 laps to go.
It's going to be pretty tight. We'll see where it is next time by. I think anticipating 2, but we'll handle that next time around the stripe as Weisenberg, Kohlbecker, and Jordan Rick Segrini run nose to tail into turn 1. Let's see a bit of a donut on the right side of that 18 car that I don't think was there earlier in the race. So he's had some combat as through the S's, Wagner, Workman, 0.7 of a second apart at the stripe.
Here they go. Workman just using that number 13 and that low center of gravity, as we said, to dart through the S's. Gap expanding a little bit. It's up to about 0.8 of a second as they cross over the first sector line. But then again, he'll get a little bit of benefit of the draft here, will Weston Workman.
They were 0.05 apart in Sector 1. They are just matching everything that they are doing. Think back to Sonoma in race 2 of the weekend. Weston Workman had the lead up until the last 2 laps, and Gresham Wagner stole it away. Could it go the other way and put Workman on the board in the wins column for the first time this season?
Well, we'll find out in about 2.5 minutes time here at this point. There's that battle farther back at the field. Kohlbecker now fixing his sights ahead on Lucas Weisenberg. Again, flash of the headlights there for Weston Workman, trying to get into the head of his teammate as much as possible.
Gosh, that car skidding around on the Bosch ABS. It had grip, but just wobbling around. He's got that thing at the maximum possible performance in the braking zone for turn 12, and he closed up. He is closer. It's about 4 or 5 car lengths between the two. There's some traffic on the horizon as well. I doubt that'll be a factor, but Weston Workman is giving Gresham Wagner a run for his money. I talked about that target painted on the back. Weston Workman's lining up the crosshairs and ready to take a shot.
Yeah, he certainly is. Runs it very wide there on the exit of turn 15. Now down into 16, 17, and 18. The carousel here at this point, plunging down that multiple story drop that you talked about, Kyle. Workman a little bit tighter here as they go and trying to be able to get as much as he can into turn 19.
They're using all the racetrack on the right and on the left of turn 19 into the braking zone for turn 20. Braking on the curbing, that's tough to do and keep the grip, but the white flag should be waving this time through DJ. 1 lap to go at COTA.
There it is, and as you said, a little bit of lap traffic in front. Could that present a little bit of a roadblock here for Gresham Wagner? The difference as they crossed over the stripe, 79/100ths of a second. Can he close this down? Can Weston Workman break the streak?
Well, he has been leaning on the brakes about as hard as anybody out there. You see the sign, made to be heard on the side of the 13. He would love to be heard in victory lane, but he's got to chase his teammate down, and it's just not enough for the moment here, DJ. Trying so hard each week. Copeland Motorsports has been so dominant this season. That's fantastic for the team, but they're trying to spread the wealth a little bit with Weston Workman on the heels of Wagner.
And there you see the lap car getting out of the way here at this point, but I think that slowed Weston down a little bit. He just kind of lost his sight of it and had to check up there coming through turns 6 and 7.
This is like dangling the carrot here, and he's going to hide it at the last possible moment. And I don't know what's happened to Jackson Bell. He was right up with Weston Workman for most of the race, but 3.7 back now isn't really going to be a factor in the battle for second or for the lead, but looking a lot like it did at Sebring with these 3 cars out front.
Looking a lot like it did at Sebring, but again, Workman better on the binders coming down into turn 11. He is pushing that car as much as he can, trying to take any opportunity that he can. Really only a couple of more overtaking opportunities here if you are Weston Workman. Can he make any of them play?
Yeah, last time down this long back straightaway for Gresham Wagner, we saw Workman close in the braking zone last time through. Again, on the racing line, watch the wiggle and wobble from the 13 in the braking zone. Closes in again, but I just don't think he's going to have enough time, DJ. And you wonder, had the gap not grown so much, now that Workman is matching the pace of Gresham Wagner, what could have been? We're going to get to see another race again tomorrow, but Weston is still trying to get there with a third of a lap left to go here.
Yeah, he is pushing with absolutely everything he has as he comes down into into turn 15. Wagner taking that out very, very wide. Workman on a little bit of a tighter line. Only 2 more corners to go here for Gresham Wagner. 2 more corners to make an opportunity for Weston Workman. He is too far back going into turn 19. Carrying good speed is Gresham Wagner. Through the penultimate corner he goes. He brings the car down into turn 20. And for the 5th time this season, Gresham Wagner comes out of the final corner and will take the checkered flag. It is victory for Copeland Motorsports and victory for Gresham Wagner.
5 for 5. How about that to start a season? Whoa, look at this battle. Look at Spike Kohlbecker throwing some defense at the 18 of Jordan Rick-Segrini. Gives him a shot. Final corner. Battle for position here. This will be for 5th place across the stripe. Kohlbecker beats him by a nose. Rick-Segrini P6. Devin Anderson a strong top 10, 7th place. Then Brickley in 8th. And then the 14 of Alex Garcia in a bit of a battle here.
Oh.
Woo, that was a little wide, huh?
That was very wide there. It looked like the rear end of that car just refused to comply as he came around the corner. This is that other battle we were following of Mashore and Lambros. Here they come across the line. Galante going to barely beat Matty Oust as it looks like, that was Hewitt and Oust. Galante, something may have happened there at that point as they're not being shown.
Yeah, Livio Galante in the 21 car only completed sector 1 this lap, so where has that car gone? And I see it on the Dancing Ants at turn number 11, all the way at the far end of the circuit. So Livio Galante not going to be able to complete this race, it looks like, unfortunately. So checkered flag here for race 1 for Toyota GR Cup North America. There's the 21, and this is a shame with how strong of a run Livio had up to this point. He will be absolutely disappointed in this. A very strong top 15 that was on the horizon, but stuck trackside with no drive in that 21 car from Eagles Canyon Racing, powered by Fast Track. There's your podium: Gresham Wagner, Weston Workman, and Jackson Bell from the Copeland Motorsports camp. And Weston Workman gave it all he had yet again, but he'll have to do it all over again tomorrow. The first race of the weekend here in round 3 of the championship, before we have a bit of a summer break as well. And I think it lends itself to an opportunity for drivers to kind of reset and head into Virginia International Raceway with a bit more of a lunge at the front runners in that Copeland Motorsport camp. Of course, they've been off to a phenomenal start to the season, grabbing almost all the podium spots so far. Lucas Weisenberg, P4, of course, in that Lucas Racing car, making do with what he can, doing a great job in that family-run team, all the way across the country to Sonoma, and then back across to Sebring, and back here to Austin. Race 1 results: Gresham Wagner, Weston Workman, and Jackson Bell, just like they did at Sebring, on top of the board again. Lucas Weisenberg, position 4 in the 46 gear wrench car. Spike Kohlbecker from Tech Sport Racing is 5th. And it's Jordan Rick-Segrini in the BSI racing car. Phenomenal run for him. Devin Anderson's best finish in the series thus far in the 22. in 7th. Then it's Adam Brickley, the 15-year-old, finishes 8th in the number 51. Stephen Clemens, 9th for BSI Racing, and Alex Garcia, 10th. Austin Dodge, Jade Evedizian, Max Hewitt, Matty Oust, and Casey Mashore, the rest of your top 15. Great battles there for most of the race, especially with Mashore and 16th place William Lambros. Luke Rumberg and Tyler Wettingel, 17th and 18th, with Henry Drury and a season debut for Miki Onaga in the Hattori Motorsports 75. That's a top 20 in their debut. It has been a fun race so far this weekend, of course. The rest of the weekend, we've got another race tomorrow to do it all over again. And with a little bit of pace being shown by a handful of drivers at the back of the field, including Livio Galante, who finishes 26th. Mia Lovell did not have the race she was hoping for in 28th. But Aiden Kirk, 21st on debut. And then Aiden Yoder, Braden Arthur, and certainly Bennett Muldoon, they would like another go at it. Aiden in particular with that heavy crash at turn 12 on the opening lap. So that will be a do-over tomorrow. Wipe the slate clean and start all over. And that's the advantage of the format for this series. Qualifying all over again tomorrow morning to set the grid for the second race of the weekend. So if Aiden Yoder's team can get that car repaired, they will have a shot to start up on the front row like he did last year here when he had his pair of top 10s here at Circuit of the Americas. It was a wet race then. It's going to be a beautiful weekend of racing for the remainder of this third round of the SRO Motorsports Championships this season. Of course, heading into that, a bit of a summer break, as we talked about before, returning at Virginia International Raceway in July, where we saw Lucas Weisenberg pip Gresham Wagner last season in an amazing display of racecraft heading down through a roller coaster. Could we see a sequel to that in a couple of months' time? Cars are rolling back down the pit lane to head back up to the upper paddock and return to the hands of the crews to make any changes or adjustments for tomorrow's event. But Gresham Wagner rolling down towards the victory lane area. He has been on the podium every single race so far and on the top step to boot. And he continues to win race after race after race. And 5 wins on the season for Gresham Wagner every round so far. And that target keeps getting bigger, even within the team for Copeland Motorsports. There's the 13 car, Weston Workman rolling in. Wagner with the blinking Lumarank in the windshield, signifying that he is the leading car. And again, unbelting out of his GR86 machine. He has really become one with this chassis in the last couple of years in this championship. And while 2023 didn't result in a championship for him after having some really strong runs, well, he has definitely found his groove with this car and this Copeland Motorsports crew. Sitting in the car, cooling off. It is extremely hot here this weekend. And I'm sure he is getting some hydration before he opts out to talk to Amanda, because hard work behind the wheel, especially in the closing laps with Weston Workman chasing him down. And while Gresham is cooling off, let's head down to Amanda to chat with race winner Gresham Wagner.
I'm going to go ahead and give him the winner's hat, and the Continental Cuff is going to go around the neck of Gresham Wagner. It's presented by Corey Gilbert, the manager of Discount Tire, joining us from San Antonio. And you're right, Kyle, he was chugging some water. I'm hearing that he had some water bottle issues at one point during that race. So, Gresham, I can't even imagine just what you were battling also from a physicality standpoint. Weston wasn't going to make it easy on you. You bounced back with some of your best laps as well. When is he going to be a threat to you?
I'd say he is. You know, I don't know that you can get more threatening without winning the race, right? So every race he gets a little bit closer, he learns a little bit more, and you know, he makes me push the car even harder, which is what happened that race. You know, I knew he was back there. I wasn't pulling away from him very fast, so I just had to push a little bit too hard, and you know, he reeled me back in there at the end. So you know, I'll keep learning from him and trying to get better, but he's doing the same thing, so I'm sure it'll come to a crossroads at some point. Yeah, just a super tough race, and thankfully the Copeland guys gave me a car that could hold on, you know, through everything. But yeah, one of the hardest races I've done.
We know you're exhausted. I do want to tell you that Kyle was saying that you've become one with this chassis over the last 2 seasons. I thought that was a really cool compliment. Kyle, maybe we'll see that battle closer and closer tomorrow between these two.
Yeah, it continues to be fantastic. He looks exhausted. He said one of the hardest races he's ever done. But Gresham Wagner, 5 for 5 here in Toyota GR Cup North America. Wrapping things up here from race 1. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. Can Wesson Workman track down Gresham Wagner and steal one for batting 1,000?